Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to another episode of the BPA Community First podcast, where we have legal and social conversations with our community. I am your host, Adelaide Benneh Prempeh, and today I have a special treat for you. We have a very special guest in the person of Mr. Justice Nene Ofoe. I know he needs no introduction, but I'm going to have a go at giving you some headlines, dear listeners. So, Mr. Justice Nene Ofoe is a distinguished Ghanaian lawyer, an academic, and recently retired Supreme Court judge. He has over 4 decades of excellence under his belt. He started his early years in Suhum in the Eastern region, and later on attended Presbyterian Boys Secondary School, the University of Ghana, and Nottingham Law School. Justice Amegatcher started his legal career in private practice with a firm called Nana Sapon Ahenkra & Co. throughout the 80s, and later became a partner with Samu Kujitu and Associates, and serving as managing partner as well from 2005 to 2018. Indeed, he's led a very illustrious career, and he has held key leadership roles in several organizations. To name but a few, he's been the national president of the Ghana Bar Association for 3 consecutive years, the chairman of the African Regional Forum of International Bar Association between 2015 and 2018. He has made his mark in teaching, and I have personal experience of the fact that he was responsible for shaping the Ghana School of Law program as we have it today in the program of advocacy and legal ethics. Justice Amegatcher was appointed to the Supreme Court in 2018 and served until 2023. And as a member of the Judicial and General Legal Council, he's played a key role in shaping Ghana's legal framework. Indeed, he was part of the panel that heard the 2020 election petition. So you see, you've met a star in the legal profession. Throughout his career, Justice Amegatcher has demonstrated excellence in law, education, arbitration, judicial service, a true public servant of our nation, and he has earned national and international recognition for it as a leading figure in our profession. So, dear listeners, if I were to describe Justice Amegatcher, I would say he is brilliant, he is versatile, affable and approachable, and inspiring. So we are truly honored to have Mr. Justice Nene Ofoe grace this occasion, to have a conversation on the podcast platform, and indeed impart pearls of wisdom. Thank you so much, Justice Amegatcher, for making the time for us. We're truly honored.
It's my pleasure to be here.
So today, since we have got you in the seat, we'll try and get as much information as possible. I think the starting point when one sees achievement in our profession is where it all began. So it will come as no surprise to you if I ask you if you can share your journey as to how you became a lawyer, culminating the apex court of our land. Is that something that a little boy in Suhum dreamt about?
Well, I'll say it was never part of my life's goals or dreams because when I was young, I was very timid. And I did not think that I'll be able to stand in the public space and either advocate or speak in front of people. But I found myself in a sixth form, and at that time, depending on your performance at the advanced level examinations, you are posted by the university to a particular department in the university. So depending on whether your choice is to read science or arts, the university itself will select the subjects for you.
Oh,
so I opted for arts, and at the end of the A-level examination, the university posted me to the Faculty of Law. at the University of Ghana. Law was given me as major and political science and philosophy as minor. But because of what I told you earlier, that I never anticipated that I would see myself as a lawyer, I went to complain to my elder sister, who was by then a state attorney at the Attorney General's Department.
I see.
That I've been assigned law to read, but I do not think that I'll be in a position to do law. So I want her to help me so that the subject is changed. It was she who advised me that many people have been competing to be given law to read. And once it has been given me, I should first thank God, and secondly, I should gather the courage, read the subject, go through it, and after I've passed, there are so many other options available to me in the administrative and other sphere that I could use the knowledge of the law to advance, and not necessarily going into legal practice and appearing before people. So based on the advice given me at that time by my sister, I decided to go ahead and pursue the course. So I went into the faculty and started pursuing the course. Fortunately for me, I met classmates who were very, very, very friendly, and we gelled together. We understood each other. It appears as if we all had a similar vision and goal. And they made the subject more interesting as we started lectures and we had discussions and other things. They made the subject so interesting that it attracted me, and I glued to it. So I continued with it until I finished the degree, and then went to the law school also to do the bar, and was called to the bar. So that was how it all began.
Amazing. I mean, just listening to you, it just, first of all, I'll say thank you to your sister, because she definitely did our profession a service by pushing you and urging you on. And it's amazing how many people who end up being quite high achievers in the profession start that way and say, oh, well, I didn't see myself with, the gift of the gab and speaking in front of people. But I think once you get into it, then you sort of go through a process of self-discovery.
Yes.
And you realize, actually, if I dedicate myself to this profession, I could be really good at it. So it's amazing to hear you say, and it also emphasizes the importance of camaraderie in our profession.
Oh, yes.
Getting together with people, learning together.
Like-minded.
Like-minded people makes a huge difference. So having settled into the profession and feeling like you belong there, and having gone ahead to achieve so much, in the first instance in the legal profession, if I were to ask you what you think your greatest achievement was in terms of significant impact, what would you say? I know others will judge you, but it's important to hear from you what you think.
Well, within the legal practice, I would say that the opportunity to advocate on behalf of the deprived in the community, there were many people who had issues. They needed help. You could see the struggle and the fact that they thought that everybody else had abandoned them. When you come across such people and you are able to wipe their tears away by advocating in court on their behalf and solving their problems for them, the kind of satisfaction that comes to them when you see it on their face, you also gain that kind of spiritual satisfaction that you've been able to help people like that. So I came across quite a number of people that I assisted. Their cases served as precedent for many, many other people who similarly had those kind of challenges. There were several cases that I did at that time, but time will not permit me to mention any. But one important one that I think I want to discuss had to do with Article 22 of the Constitution 1992.
Yes.
That article deals with the property rights of spouses
Yeah.
and mandated Parliament as soon as practicable to pass a law in order to make provision for the property rights of spouses. Up to date, we are in 2024. That's about 34 years
Indeed.
after the 1992 Constitution. For no apparent reason, Parliament has not come to tell us why they have failed and or refused to pass that particular act of Parliament. But somebody's right accrues in the process.
Yes.
What then do you do? So I was confronted with a situation when a right had accrued, and I have to advocate on behalf of the person. I either have to tell the person that Parliament was mandated by the Constitution to pass the law. They have not passed the law, so you don't have any cause of action.
Which is of no use to
Which
the
is
person.
of no use.
Yes.
So from where I was coming, I said that, look, the mere fact that Parliament has failed or refused to pass that law should not prevent the court from doing justice.
Yeah.
So I pursued this case. I lost across the hierarchy of the court because in some of the judges, when I invited them that Parliament has failed to pass the law, the right of my client has accrued, so the court should grant the appropriate remedy. It said, well, it is a responsibility of Parliament.
Yeah.
They have not done it. We do not have the mandate because we don't want to involve ourselves in what is termed as judicial lawmaking. It is not our responsibility.
Yeah.
But when I fought it right the way to the Supreme Court agreed with me that
Amazing.
they
Yeah.
will not relegate their role and responsibility as a court of last resort to allow this lady whose right had accrued at that time to go without any remedy. The Supreme Court went ahead and did the work of Parliament to grant the appropriate remedies. One of the cases that is reported in the law books that have changed the law relating to distribution of marital properties and other things. So I feel satisfied that I've, in the course of my practice, I've met many deprived people in the community, and I've given them some kind of satisfaction.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing, my lord, because in our current day and age, when and I also teach at the law school, as you know, when you ask people why they want to do the profession, you know, unashamedly, people tell me it's the money and the prestige.
Yes.
So to hear somebody who's walked the path and seeing that as not just being an isolated, significant impact for you, but discussing it with us, I think that it's very beneficial, very refreshing. And I think that, you know, you definitely are inspiration for all of us in respect of how you see your role as a lawyer. I think it's come to question quite a bit that as a lawyer, you are called for a reason.
Yes.
You know, it's a calling. It's not one of these things that you do without a conscience. So I'm glad you took time to discuss this case with us. And I'm sure our listeners are taking notes in respect of how to do it right. Then we come to your role as an educator. You know, your reputation speaks for itself. And I think I got into teaching because I met you. So I guess from that angle and for the several students that you have taught, I would like to know what you've enjoyed the most and what you say is your significant achievement.
Well, I started teaching at the Ghana School of Law in 1994, and I'm happy and proud to say that I've taught students who are now sitting right at the apex court. That is the Supreme Court
Amazing.
bench. I'm happy and proud of that. I'm happy that for budding lawyers, I have been able to emphasize the quality of hard work, the quality of integrity and honesty. There's no shortcut to life. Many people,
not.
as you said, they said because of the money, and so they come and compare themselves to others. You don't know whether it is their families or those who provided whatever vehicle they use.
Exactly.
But people compare themselves to others.
Yes.
But I read this in Desiderata, that if you compare yourself to others, you may become vain or bitter, because there will always be greater or lesser persons than yourself. So I advise people, don't compare yourself, just focus and do your work. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and after that all other things
shall be added unto you. Yes.
Unto you. So
yeah.
I had the opportunity to teach quite a number of students. Some of them are legislators, ministers of state, and others, and I impacted what I taught should be what every professional in that field should know to them. And again, I was fortunate to be one of the 3 Ghanaians who were first taken to the United States to go and study conflict management and alternative dispute resolution.
Oh, I see.
I'm talking about former Chief Justice Georgina Wood and Justice Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu, and I were selected and taken to the U.S. to be trained in that area. So when we came back, apart from training and sensitizing people, because I was lecturing at the law school, we taught that litigation was shifting to other methods of dispute resolution. So it was inappropriate to train our students only in the skill of litigation.
Yes.
So with the knowledge acquired, I was able to present a paper to the General Legal Counsel to introduce alternative dispute resolution into the curriculum of the law school.
I see.
Prepare the syllabus for the subject, and I stepped in as the first lecturer in alternative dispute resolution at the law school. So I was teaching advocacy and ethics as well as alternative dispute resolution.
I didn't know the story behind ADR.
Yes,
I do.
That was how.
Well, it sounds like an amazing team was handpicked to be the pace setters. So I'm glad that you imparted, or you had the opportunity to impart that knowledge.
Yeah.
So amazing career, and I know you're still going, but one has to focus on the cream on top, which essentially is your culmination to the apex court of the land, which we all met with quite excitement because we heard about it and we thought, if you're going there, then you're going to put the world to right. What would you say in your time there? What would you say you took greatest pride in?
Well, let me say, it was never part of my life's ambition to end up in the apex court or in public service. And I made that clear right from the beginning. I loved private legal practice, and that was where I started. And I had the perception that the public service did not function as it should. Things did not move because of a few friends who were there that I had a discussion with. So I didn't want anything to do with the public service.
And your personality is very much up and doing.
At all.
Yes.
So I love the private sector, the private legal practice, the flexibility, and I love research into other areas of the law. So I worked over there for several years. And then at the end of my tenure as president of the Ghana Bar Association, not very long after, my successor came to me and told me that the bar was considering putting my name up for the Supreme Court. I declined immediately. And I told him that he should not dare, and that was totally out of the question. Because when I was president of the bar, I had the opportunity to serve on certain public bodies like the Judicial Council, the General Legal Council, and that fueled my perception that public's nothing.
This is not for me.
This is not for me. Yeah. So I protested, but not knowing that some groundwork had been done behind me
before they approached you. Before they had been working on it.
And so the information that was given, the question that he asked me was a fait accompli. I mean, whatever I said was just dismissed, and the more I protested, the more the pressure came. And to cut the long story short, the next thing I found myself was I was before Parliament, the vetting committee of Parliament, answering questions
like to be a dream
to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. It's but I think this narration, I think it's very important for young up and coming lawyers as well, because when you're doing something, do it right. So unbeknown to you, as you went about your normal business in private practice and so on and so forth, you had, should I say, a public servant heart that people could see.
Correct.
That you combined beautifully your life as a private practitioner with your ability to go over and above to help, a distressed spouse who had nowhere to turn to, and all these things that you're speaking about. So that combination helps, because then when you end up somewhere like the Supreme Court, you're taking your private practice efficiency hat on, as well as your love to do justice for the ordinary person. So I think that they had identified you way before they had that conversation. And boy, am I glad that you found yourself in front of Parliament being vetted.
It was a big conspiracy.
Yes, but it's amazing. Sometimes you need the angels around you to push you a bit, to push you in the right direction, because we definitely need good people, Your Lordship. So I'm glad.
When the president, he quoted a statement by a past Chief Justice, who said that once you have distinguished yourself in private legal practice, the next thing is that you must sacrifice some of your time for the nation by going to serve on the bench.
Yeah.
He quoted a past Chief Justice. Made that
so you were stuck, really.
Yes.
It all made sense.
I said that, but the past Chief Justice never mentioned my name.
Yes.
He just made a general statement.
Amazing. Yes. And look at where his statement left you. So that's fantastic. So you've had a front seat with the judicial system, how it works, so on and so forth. What would you say are some of the challenges that the judicial system faces?
Well, the judicial system is a human institution, and it is not immune from challenges. We have challenges of delay, and delay in justice delivery arising mainly from, I would say, obsolete and archaic rules. When you look at the rules themselves afford lawyers and parties the opportunity to manipulate, take advantage of the rules for their own benefit, either to delay, depending on whether you perceive that you have a good case or not. You use the same rules and take advantage to delay the case. For instance, the same rules that is supposed to enhance justice delivery, you can make a submission before a judge knowing that application that you brought before the judge is hopeless. But all that you want the judge to do is to rule. And then after ruling, you appeal to the next court, and then you say, because of your appeal, there must be a stay of proceedings. So then you delay the trial. So we have these archaic rules, which I think something ought to be done about it. The second challenge that I see is with the case management system of the judges. We need effective case management. Judges ought to be managers of their courts. And when you are a manager of the court, you dictate the peace. It is no longer the norm in other jurisdictions where when a judge has come out with his or her timetable and set a day for trial, then the lawyer files an application, a motion. You cannot do it. But that is what is that's what is in stock in this country.
Yeah.
Lawyers file and they expect that a judge will put his or her plan and schedule aside and listen to my application. What is an application? So when we follow that process, then it means it is the lawyers and the parties who are dictating the pace of litigation. They're no longer the judges.
Yeah.
But the judges must be trained to be effective case managers. Once they are effective case managers, then the justice system will thrive and nobody will come and either misbehave or disrupt your timetable. If you have 3 months within which to finish the case, you finish the case as it's happening in other jurisdictions. And then the third challenge, which I have identified, had to do with financial and administrative autonomy of the judiciary. When you read Article 127 of the Constitution 1992, it clearly spells that the judiciary has judicial, administrative, and financial autonomy, which means that nobody can interfere in your judicial functions, nobody can interfere in your administrative function, and nobody can interfere in your financial administration of the service. But here we have a country where, for the politicians, they are happy to say, I have built 200 courts, or 100 courts, or 50 courts, or I've been able to give the judiciary 50 vehicles or 100 vehicles, which means that it has never happened, I've done it. Yeah. But it is not up to the executive or the politician to do these things for the judiciary. The judiciary must have their own budget. They must know the number of courtrooms that they want. They must know the number of vehicles that they want for the judges. They must be able to make their own decision, and it is not up to the executive or the politicians to make this decision. These are some of the challenges that I think we ought to iron out and find a way to deal with in order to enhance the administration of justice in this country and make the judiciary truly, truly independent.
Yes. I think that's a very critical point, because if you start from the premise that the Chief Justice is the ultimate administrator of the judicial system, then that is in contrast to, example, the UK, where you have His Majesty, now His Majesty's Court Service and Tribunals, who basically are housed by the Ministry of Justice, understandably. Then you know that at least there isn't financial autonomy in that sense. But here we have financial autonomy, and yet we seem to be a judicial system which is tied to the apron strings of the executive in terms of considering the budget and so on and so forth. So I think that's absolutely key. And then that sort of reflects into service delivery, how efficient the judicial system is, or the system is to the ordinary person, and cutting out delays and so on. I think it will be very useful if we can have that. But, I mean, are there any further steps that can be taken to enhance funding for the judicial system?
You see, the judiciary has its own IGF. For instance, the judiciary collects fines. Litigants and parties before the courts pay filing fees. These are what we call the internally generated funds.
Yes.
Unfortunately, all this money is supposed to be paid into the consolidated fund. And currently, the judiciary is only giving permission to retain 30% of its IGF.
Which is woefully inadequate.
We've been fighting for this over the years. When I served on the Judicial Council, I remember there was a time that the judiciary was left with just 27,000, the whole country in its account, and we have to march to Jubilee House to meet the president and discuss some of these things. So if the judiciary is giving even about 70% of its
That will make a huge difference.
That will make a huge difference.
Yes.
In managing
availability of funds.
The ability of funds.
Yeah.
And I think, you see, one of the things that I have also seen is that the public servants who work at the Ministry of Finance, they classify the judiciary as a department, ministry, or agency.
Which is wrong.
Which is wrong. Exactly. And it's unconstitutional.
Yes,
because the judiciary is the only arm of state where it is clearly specified that they have financial autonomy. Parliament is not provided for in the constitution. For the executive, that provision is not made in the constitution. It's only the judiciary. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
You see, if the judiciary is not given adequate funds to manage its own affairs, it will have a blight on the rule of law.
Of course.
The rule of law,
yeah.
as well as the independence of the judiciary, so far as this country is concerned. And that is why when you take our political history from 1968, when the report of the Constitutional Commission that led to the passage of the 1969 Constitution came up, they gave the reason why the executive should not interfere in the funding of the judiciary. But unfortunately, so far as the Ministry of Finance is concerned, this is the cake that we have. We have to share this cake among so many departments. So they classify the judiciary as part of the department, which is unconstitutional.
Yes.
It is wrong. And I have been advocating that if Parliament has been able to pass an act, the Common Fund Administrator is giving 5% upfront of every money that is generated.
Yes.
And the National Health Insurance also takes 5% upfront of every fund that is generated. These are acts of Parliament. How much more constitutional provision that says that the judiciary is independent? Every quarter, release in full the budget that has been approved by Parliament. When you read Article 1276, the funds approved by Parliament should be released to the judiciary in quarterly installment. It is not done. Apart from salaries that are paid, it is not done. They want cars, they will not get it. And when I was appointed, it took about 3 years. We were appointed in 2018. It was 2021 that our vehicles came.
Unbelievable.
Well, why should that happen?
I mean, the mere fact that it ends up in a consolidated fund before it is released, that alone is an issue because then it causes even further delay. And I think, you see, sometimes ultimately what the judicial system does is to protect the individual, the citizenry. And, you know, for the citizenry, they want urgent justice. So, you know, all this sort of issues to do with funding and how access to funding is an issue pales into insignificance if you need justice and you need it here and now. So it's important that we look at these issues. I think you're quite right, so that it enhances the service delivery of the judiciary.
I say the judiciary is the last hope of the citizenry when every other thing has failed them.
Yes.
When their families have failed them, their government has failed them, their parliamentarians have failed them, their district assemblies have failed them, the last resort is the judiciary.
Yes.
So the judiciary should never fail the citizenry, otherwise this country will
be on our knees.
Yes, we'll go to a state of
it's a big issue.
Chaos and anarchy.
And I think that, you know, all starts from the Constitution. I mean, there are elaborate provisions in our Constitution which are put in place, I believe, to ensure that the message of judicial independence is clear. If one looks, and I'll just pick one, the Article 1253 says that the judicial power of Ghana should be vested in the judiciary. Accordingly, neither the President nor Parliament nor any organ or agency of the President or Parliament shall have or be given final judicial power. So that is very clear. There is, however, a public perception that the judiciary are influenced somewhat by the executive, claims of judges receiving undue pressure. And I think people imagine that, if, for example, your lordship is in court, then you get a call from a minister to say, I know you are on the panel, do the needful. That certainly is a perception that the public have, that, they are all in it together, the judiciary, the executive, the legislature. What do you say about that? I mean, how would you respond to such a perception by the public?
Well, the perception flows from the way judges are appointed and how the media report this. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you hear the media reporting, this judge was appointed by President so-and-so.
Yes.
This judge was appointed by President so-and-so. It is the American system where one president can just nominate by himself a particular judge, and the judge will go through approval at the Senate hearing and then take his seat. Yeah. But we don't have that system in Ghana. So in my view, it is the way the media mislead the public that he was appointed by President A, and therefore he's singing the tune of President A.
Not a team.
We don't have the system. The system that we have here is to try as much as possible to insulate the appointing process for the politicians. Mm-hmm. So we have a judicial council.
Yes.
The judicial council is made up of representatives from all over. The president also has representatives over there. And they go in, do the vetting, the interview, and all other things. And once they are done, they present potential candidates to the president for the president to take it up. So it is not the president who is supposed to give the judicial council or so. If judicial council relegate that responsibility to the president, to write and give you names, those you should appoint, then it is your headache. It means you have failed the people in what you are supposed to do as a council. That is my understanding. So our system is different, and the whole thing is to insulate the appointing process from the politicians. I like the Kenyan system. In the Kenyan system, once the council, it is a similar thing like the judicial council, but it's called the judicial commission or so. The judicial appointing commission. They even appoint the chief justice. They nominate and they give you the name, and it is binding on you.
All right.
You have no choice. Once they give the name to you, you have to submit the name to Parliament, and you have a timeline to do that. Where you don't fail to do it within that time, the process kicks in automatically, the constitutional process. And that's the Kenya. We don't have that system. But I believe that it is human beings who run the system, and we can make it work. And that was why in 2016, the Ghana Bar Association, when it noticed that the phrase acting on the advice of the Judicial Council was being abused, went to court and asked the Supreme Court for interpretation and direction. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court ruled at that time that at the phrase acting on the advice of was not binding on the president. So the situation that we have right now is that when the Judicial Council nominates or presents a name to the president, those names are not binding on the president.
So
the
he
president
can decide to take it on.
Can return the name. It's unfortunate, but that is the law as we have it at the moment. So because of that, the perception then is that where the president refuses to take name A and then accepts name B, then the perception then is that the president name B is in the good books of the president, and therefore you are likely to do the bidding
Yeah.
of the president. But judges take an oath of office, and every judge is supposed to work and function according to his or her judicial oath. Where a judge allows outsiders to interfere and to dictate to you, you would have broken your judicial oath and you are not fit to occupy that high office. You are to administer justice to all manner of people without fear or favor, and that is your judicial oath. Throughout the time that I was on the Supreme Court bench, I can say authoritatively that I never had any single call or any single interference or any member of the executive or the legislature or anybody coming over to see me by way of calling or, having the courage even to come and see me.
So they wouldn't, Your Lordship.
I
can't see it.
Nobody did it.
Yeah.
On the contrary,
I think they take targets.
It is members of the public, rather,
Yes.
who attempted
using
either family members who are close to you, or old school, kind of old school mates, and then sometimes the church.
Of course.
You see the church, that they know you attend this church and whatnot. But those who attempted, who tried, regretted ever attempting. You must let people know that at least you have certain values, principles.
That you stand by.
That you stand by. That you are not prepared to compromise.
What you see is what you get.
You are not prepared to compromise. Absolutely. People must know and accept that. And that must be made clear to all manner of people. So I did not. So it's an unfortunate perception, but we ought to work at it. We ought to work at it and ensure that I will be happy if we'll be able to take the appointing process totally from the hands of politicians and adopt the Kenyan system. I'll be very happy.
It will be useful.
It will diffuse that perception.
And it will enhance public confidence.
Absolutely.
Because we can't, unfortunately, we can't control the media and how they report things. So
absolutely.
I think an inner working of the process, a revisiting of the process will be a good idea. Now, the Supreme Court, being the apex court of the land, is basically the final arbiter when it comes to the Constitution. So, if one looks at the Constitution, the Supreme Court interpret the law, they declare the law, they apply the law, they are bound by their own decisions. And there's ongoing debate sometimes as to whether the Supreme Court can actually make new law, create new law, and we, that's against the background of separation of powers and who does what. The legislature.
You are talking about judge-made law.
Yes, judge-made law. Does that happen?
It is a debate in England and as to whether judges make law or not. But the principle of separation of powers is such that laws are made by Parliament. They are supposed to be made by Parliament. And then the judiciary role is to interpret the laws made by Parliament. And then the role of the executive is to enforce the laws made by Parliament. So the example that I gave you about Article 22 of the Constitution mandates Parliament or mandated Parliament to come out with an act, legislation, with provision for property right of spouses. They've not done it. And a person's right had accrued. What do you expect the judiciary to say? When the judiciary steps in and say, okay, on the basis of this, you are entitled to this and this, would you say that they have usurped the functions of Parliament in making that? No, they have not.
Because there's a clear gap.
There's a clear gap. They have not. Let me give you another example. When you look into the Constitution, there's a provision that when you send a petition to the President for the removal of any justice of the Superior Courts, the President is supposed to forward the petition to the Chief Justice. And before proceeding to set up a tribunal, the Chief Justice must look at the petition and determine whether there's a prima facie case on the face of the petition. That's what is stated.
Yeah.
Then there's a provision relating to the Chief Justice. When the similar petition is brought to the President for the removal of the Chief Justice, the phrase establishment of prima facie case was omitted.
Yeah.
So the question then came before the court whether in the case of the Chief Justice you do not need the establishment of a prima facie case,
Yes.
or it was an omission or a drafting problem. The Supreme Court had to interpret the law, and they came to the conclusion that it was an omission, and that in the case of the Chief Justice as well, the President must establish a prima facie case. Somebody will say, well, this should be the role of Parliament.
Yeah.
And the judiciary
Very
went to make it so it's a judge-made law, but it is not a judge-made law. Members of Parliament do not have all the expertise over there. So sometimes in the course of making laws, they leave certain gaps.
Yes. Yes.
And the gaps must be plugged, must be filled. And the role, that assignment has been given to the judiciary. That is why this question about judge-made law, whether the judiciary has been usurping the powers of Parliament to make laws and whatnot. That's why that came up. But in my view,
it's not actually usurping powers.
It is not.
It's making it work by being efficient. Where there's a clear, there's a clear need. There's a clear need.
Yeah.
So now we're going to look at how you can inspire the younger generation, since you've lived throughout this profession. The younger generation, as we know, are very quick to wanting to get from A to Z without actually living the experience of being a lawyer and learning experiences for that. And we are in very, should I say, fluid times in the legal profession. So I wanted to know how you envision this legal profession and what we should do to prepare ourselves for the new world.
Well, for the younger ones coming, I would say there is no shortcut to life. When you have decided that you want to be part of the legal profession, you must work hard. It's a product of hard work. And it is not only the product of hard work, but the profession has certain rules that guides the profession. And if our forefathers, those who set up the profession, had disregarded those rules and set them aside, I do not think that the profession would be attractive for some of us to aspire to get into it. So when you come, you should not come and destroy what your forefathers put in place. You must also come and ensure. Unfortunately, it is said that we are in a fast world, fast life.
Yes.
So everybody wants to make things very fast. So these rules of efforts are there, but the younger ones coming.
They are deemed archaic.
Yes, archaic. And why do we not grant interview to the media in a case? I want to make myself popular.
Yeah.
And
I need to be on the radio.
I need to be on the radio and all those other things. And yes, so there's no fast life, which I think the younger generation should be looking at. They'll make it when they work hard. They'll make it when there is honesty and integrity. You make it. I have been cautioning my students that if you do not have integrity and you lack honesty, you may set up a practice, but you cannot sustain it, because those who come initially to you, one after the other, will see the real you, and they'll start going.
You can't pretend forever.
You can't pretend forever.
Yes.
You can't pretend forever. And they will go and even tell their friends that if you want a crooked who will do it, this
that's the guy.
Yes. So because yes, that's it. So They must, as I said, hard work. They must be focused, and they must wait for their turn. It will come.
So I'm sure you are listening, dear viewers, because there's no shortcut in this profession, and I hope that you abide by the principles that you came to meet and make it better for the next generation. So this year has been particularly, should I say, the final quarter of this year has been particularly exciting for the Ghana Bar Association, because we now have our first female national president. And I know that, if I may say so, your lordship is actually a male ally now. A male ally is a man who champions the cause of women, enhances opportunities for women. I know, your lordship, you met this bit of good news with enthusiasm, because now we have national president woman, vice president woman, regional Greater Accra Bar woman.
Yes.
So the women are leading the show, and therefore the whole idea that the legal profession does not reflect society finally now has a real boost to show that actually, much as we thought that women will never make it, we have made it. So, your lordship, how do you see this change affecting the profession, and do you think there's anything unique that a female president will bring to the profession?
Oh, sure. When I believe, and I don't have the statistics, but I believe when we take the statistics now, there are more female lawyers.
Certainly in the law school.
Than male lawyers in the profession now. And it's been long overdue, except that it is said that we are in a male-dominated world. But I'll say that Ghana, we have done well in terms of giving our female counterparts the opportunity to serve in high places. Other countries like Nigeria and so are struggling, and they were shocked when they heard about this election. I remember immediately after the election, I was in Mexico for the International Bar Conference.
Oh, yes,
and, they were all over the place. How it happened, and because
what's
they've
the,
not
what's the secret?
Yes, they've not experienced it. But it shows that the Ghana Bar is progressive, and Ghana, for that matter, is progressive.
Yes,
because we've just had our first
female
vice president. Yeah,
we are a real beacon.
Yes. So we are a beacon for democracy in Africa. So the Ghana Bar Association is progressive. We are happy. And we think that the female counterparts have a big role. They have a significant role to play in order to move the Ghana Bar Association to the next level. When you have that kind of diversity, then you can make progress. Mm-hmm. But when you do not make the effort, the conscious effort to have inclusiveness and diversity from all angles in your establishment, then you are likely in the modern world to fail. So I believe, and I'm proud that the female vice president is from my firm, is somebody that I have mentored.
Your protege, really.
Somebody that I handed over the headship of Samukujetu and Associates to when I was leaving for the Supreme Court to run the firm as the managing partner. And I'm happy where she's been able to bring the firm as at now. Yeah. So I believe that we have the potential, and sooner or later, our female colleagues will play that key role in moving the bar to the level that we have, and with the support of the male, and with their support as well, when the male is president, I believe that the sky will be the limit.
Yes, working together
for the GBA
will definitely be good for the GBA. It's really exciting times for all of us, and we wish them all well.
Yes.
Your Lordship, what is your secret? You have a very youthful demeanor, and I do wonder, aside all the wonderful achievements academically and professionally, What are your current pursuits and interests? Parking the law to one side for a moment.
Well, you must work hard at what you want to achieve in life, and it does not come on a silver platter. You can ruin if you want to ruin your life, and you can enhance if you want to enhance your life.
Quite true.
I do not believe that because you're a lawyer, all that you have to read should be only law books.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was the managing partner of the law firm of Samukujetu and Associates, I insisted that once a month, every lawyer read one non-legal book. And during our weekly meetings to debrief on cases and other things, each person will be called upon to share what you have gained. You have no business to call yourself a member of the legal fraternity, and for that matter to be also called a learned friend, if you are learned only in the law and not in other disciplines.
I couldn't agree more.
Because when the doctors, the accountants, the engineers and all those, when they have problems, they come to you.
Yeah.
So your knowledge, you must be able to expand your knowledge to other disciplines. You must read very wide.
To speak their language.
Yeah, to speak their language. So people come to my office, they see all kinds of books and material, and they ask, well, where did you get this from? It's because you gain insight by reading some of people share experiences from some of these books that you read. So I have had the opportunity to read and gain insight about how to conduct my life. You'll be surprised that even as a Supreme Court judge, sometimes we work on Saturdays and holidays. We woke up at about 4 a.m., drove to Abri, parked at the foot of the mountain, and then climbed right to the top of the mountain and then down, and other aerobics and exercise that you do regularly in order to improve yourself and to keep healthy.
Yes.
You must watch your diet, what you eat when you eat. It's not everything. So there are lifestyle challenges that you learn from others that you ought to manage your life.
Yes.
So in order to look good and be happy.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been pursuing. That I've been speaking on that. I've been telling friends and loved ones that it is not that you are hungry and they put a bowl of food before you at 8 p.m. So it means you need to eat.
Yes, it's true. Yes. It's a discipline.
So it's a discipline.
It's a discipline.
And each one of us, we owe obligation to ourselves and our family members to discipline ourselves and live lives that we think will be worth the living. I mean, God expects us.
Yes.
To do that. So if you see me and you are saying I look youthful, as others have said, because when I was retiring from the Supreme Court,
I couldn't believe it when you told me that you were retiring.
Then almost everybody said they couldn't believe it, and it's not true. Others said they were going to see my mother, to interview my mother, because there's some mistakes somewhere.
I mean, seriously, that has to be looked at. That if you're 70 and you're youthful and able, you should stay at the Supreme Court, honestly, because I think that was a real shock to me, my lord, when you told me you were retiring. I thought, retiring from what exactly? But clearly you are active now, so I'm not surprised.
Yes, but when I was leaving, I wrote to the General Legal Council based on Rule 81 of the legal profession, professional conduct and etiquette rules, like 2423, to be granted special dispensation to go back to my law firm to mentor the younger ones who are coming.
Exactly, it's well needed.
Yes, to mentor them. We have interns coming from the law faculties every now and then you have those coming in to do their pupillage. You need somebody to mentor them very well. And of course, because of the promotion of alternative dispute resolution, I was also involved in arbitration Yes, so I wrote for that permission and dispensation was given.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing right now. And also I accept engagement from the Commonwealth Lawyers International Bar and other
For training and
other
speaking.
places for
Yeah.
training
Yeah.
and speaking. Yeah, so it's been keeping me very, very active.
Yes.
Yes, very, very
And long may it continue. I
Yes.
think I want to see you in circulation a whole lot more than now. So I'm glad that it hasn't been an abrupt. It's a privilege for those who are being mentored by
Yes.
you to have the opportunity. And I think we desperately need that in our profession. So well done.
Yes.
Well done. My Lord, this has been an amazing conversation. And I know that our listeners have taken a lot from it, because I have. But before I let you go, although I don't want you to go, any parting comments? It could be anything, pearls of wisdom, whatever that you think that you need to tell us in our community.
Well, you mean for lawyers?
For lawyers or young people. I don't mind. We are not picky.
Young people?
Yes.
Well, for young people, we have our country to build and to develop. And professionalism, as I said, hard work. This business whereby people think that there must be shortcuts will not help us as a country. We only have one country. It is up to us to love our country, whether irrespective of whichever political persuasion you belong to. Make sure that it is not a do and die. You have the love for your country, and because of the love for your country, you are prepared to sacrifice some of your own personal aspirations. You see, for the country to progress. What sometimes when I see some of the young members of parliament and the way they speak and the way it's as if either the whole country will crumple or grind to a halt because of their own aspirations, what they want, or then we should not have it. It's either me or then it should
Indeed.
not be. But we must know we have a country to develop, and when you wait for your time, I mean, if it is for you, it will come. And that is what we are seeing in our political life. So people must be patient and wait and do the right thing. And the opportunities will come and they will progress. So I think that we all owe it a duty to allow the country to progress and to thrive. And we'll be happy when we have successful countries. If it's happening to other countries, Singapore and other places, I mean, it did not come on a silver platter.
It's
a
all
product of hard work.
Yeah.
Yes, and we need to work hard and support our governments and our leaders in order to do the right thing for us.
Excellent. Well, dear BPA community, what a way to start the new year. I mean, I'm sure that you're inspired to do a whole lot more, as I am. There are so many nuggets. I think I'll just pick a few. Firstly, our profession, or indeed advancing your profession, is a marathon, not a sprint. No shortcuts, integrity, honesty to be your hallmark. Make sure that you work hard, because when you work hard, it's amazing how many doors open for you and all come out in the wash and help you out in progressing in life. So I want to say a very big thank you to our very special guest today, Mr. Justice Nene Ofoe, a consummate professional, a fine legal brain, gentleman, and also very active, takes his health very seriously. I hope that you go back and go and have another look at your New Year's resolutions and make a few changes to ensure that you achieve a whole lot more this year. I hope you've come away with this feeling better and reinvigorated for the new year. So this has been the BPA Community First podcast. I've been your host, Adelaide Benneh Prempeh, and we have had an amazing guest in the person of Mr. Justice Nene Ofoe Amegatcher. I wish you all a happy, healthy, prosperous new year.